I'm Stila Webb.
And I'm Shuvom.
I'm going to write my first fiction novel this year.
And I'm going to film it.
And we're going to release one video every week.
And if you keep up with Stila's word count, by the end of 2017, you'll have...
Catch me outside, how about that?
Catch you outside.
Alright campers, you're entering week 13 of your writing adventure.
Lucky 13.
And today we're going to talk about your book's special effects budget. Someone once told me, when writing a book, you have a bigger special effects budget than James Cameron, so you might as well use it.
You're only limited by your imagination. You might as well do something with it.
So we just recently watched the movie Passengers, which is a big sci-fi budget adventure.
Better than I thought it would be.
Consider this scene where J-Law is like swimming in a pool and then the gravity goes out, so now she's swimming in a zero-G thing of water.
Which would suck. Badly.
But the scene only went on for like 30 seconds. Why?
Special effects. Cost money.
I'm in a weird mood today.
I am.
You're gonna do full sentences, or what's gonna happen?
I don't know.
Right. But why didn't that scene last very long? It's not because J-Lo would have drowned. It's because they didn't have the special effects money to keep that zero-G CGI water plus J-Law bubble going on very long. But in your book, you could have the whole thing in a zero-G water bubble if you wanted to. No one's stopping you.
Ender's Game is mostly in zero-G. All the full fight scenes are all in zero-G.
Yeah, it's a battle.
Yeah, I know what it is. I've read it twice. Recently.
You had it read.
The Battle Room. On a moon around Jupiter.
So if in your book, if you wanted to have, dinosaurs fighting aliens and lasers going off and huge nuclear bombs and whatever, and ring worlds around planets, you can do that, right? There's nothing stopping you.
Make a Dyson sphere.
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, it's completely impossible in real life, but why not?
But most first-time writers don't. When they have two people talking, they're talking in a room with chairs. They're in a car. Maybe they take a normal plane.
It's so sad because it's almost based on what we see in movies, and most of the movies are very basic. Recently I've been watching Iron Fist, and it's really kind of depressing because every time they have dialogue, they're just sitting somewhere and it's just shot, reverse shot, shot, reverse shot. And I see a lot of writers do the same thing in their books where the dialogue is basically shot, reverse shot. They're not even doing anything with their hands, they're just shot, reverse shotting.
Yeah, it's two people sitting in a room or a car exchanging dialogue. So instead...
Put a poke in the bowl! Oh wait, no, wrong video, wrong video.
So how do you use special effects budget? What does it mean for you? The first question I ask myself is, can I set the scene somewhere awesome? Instead of two people having a dialogue about politics in a sofa, can they be on a lava bridge? Can they be in a crashing aircraft carrier? Can they be on a helicarrier? Right? Can I set this scene somewhere awesome?
And you can't always. That's just how it goes. But when you can, you probably should.
Yeah. Why can't the scene be around the moons of Endor? Why can't it be in an upside-down cavern? Why can't it be in a virtual world? So think about when you're setting scenes. Don't just put them in a doctor's office. What if it's a neurosurgery nanotechnology doctor's office with robots doing things in the background? You've got the special effects budget. Use it.
Yeah, make sure you're using your setting and the world that you've already built to its best effect. Make sure that you're actually getting all your bang for your buck out of all the research and work you did building it. Use it.
So, Stila, how are you using this concept in Catcalled, your urban fantasy book?
I'm not quite so sure that I am yet. Well, they have been in a private jet.
It's okay, I guess.
It's the best I can do in urban fantasy when they haven't gotten to the fantasy part yet.
Yeah, I'm waiting for them to get to, like, the fairy court. Because in the fairy court, it could be anywhere. It could be on a cloud.
They don't like being called fairies, dear.
The fairy court could be in a cloud. It could be underwater. It could be, inside a volcano. It could be anywhere. So I'm really looking forward to using this when they get to the fairy court. In Infinity Squad 3, which I'm, still, like I said, 60,000 words into, I realized for about 20,000 words of it, they should have been in zero-G. Their ships don't have gravity. Ooh. So all the scenes I wrote where people just walking and talking down the hall side by side, they should be floating and swinging down the hall. So I have to go back and change that in my own book. But it'll make things more awesome. Again, think of J-Law with the water bubble.
Especially if someone isn't paying attention and just poof into something.
Yeah. There's a lot of fun you can do. It makes the environment a character in the book.
Yeah.
The second way to use this in your book, Stila, I ask myself, can I make these characters more awesome? Example from a movie I just rewatched, Deadpool. On the commentary track, they say Colossus costs them $50,000 a second to have on screen. That's why you don't see a lot of Colossus.
He was worth every second he was there, though. Every second.
But in your book, you can have Colossuses all over the place in the background, just lifting weights if you want. You've got the budget, use it. If you have characters who are magic or science fiction-y, it costs a lot of money to have CGI on screen. But if you're writing a book, why not have a character who has like a ghost arm that can reach through walls and grab things?
Again, as long as it's internally consistent to the world you have built.
Yeah. Like in Men in Black, they had those aliens that wore humans as little suits, robots, and the aliens were this big, and they were inside a big, human robot. In a book, you can have a human with a little alien inside it, and the alien can have a littler alien inside it, and that alien can have a littler alien inside it, and you can have them all in a fight scene knocking against each other. It'd be impossible to show in a movie. You could do it in your book.
In the fourth Dresden novel, there is a whole battle that happens above Chicago on clouds with tons and tons and tons of people. They literally have to walk up an invisible brick-like staircase to get to the clouds that they can step on and have a giant battle. How cool is that?
Yeah. How much more fun is that than a battle in an empty field?
Yeah, it's so much cooler.
Think about the fight at Helm's Deep in Lord of the Rings, right? You could have 5 of those.
Yeah.
That could be a warm-up for your big fight. You could have a huge battle. Why not? You've got the special effects budget. Use it. So Stila wrote an unpublished short story, which we call Sci Hunter.
Yes.
Her first draft did not have this in it. What happened in your first draft of Sci Hunter?
In the first draft, I described in this giant city a massive railgun in the middle of the city. The railgun is for shooting raw ore into orbit, because this is a poor planet, so they just shoot it into orbit instead of having ships come down all the time.
It was like the biggest thing in the entire city. It dwarfed all the skyscrapers. You could see it for miles around, and it was really cool. But how did it get used in the book?
It didn't in the first draft.
It didn't go off. And everyone who read the short story were like, why didn't that big gun go off?
Yeah.
So,
I make mistakes.
So then, in her second draft, how did you change it?
Oh, it becomes a central part of the plot now. Like, it's actually used. She works at the gun in the story, and she'll try to escape the planet on the thing. It becomes an integral part of the story.
But in the fun and games section, the gun totally gets fired while she's around it. And it shakes all the buildings, it shakes all the dust.
They can literally feel the power winding up before it shoots every time, like dust rises up due to the electromagnetics required to shoot this thing. It's huge.
Yeah.
So now I do something fun with it.
Yeah. Yeah, you use it. It'd be a very expensive scene to film. It'd be CGI if it was in the movie, but you could have that go off as many times as you want. So, a good example of using a special effects budget.
One of these days I'll finish that short story.
So how do you use this in real life? When I think of scenes and I put them on the board for Save the Cat stuff, I want my scenes to have 4 main parts to them. So when I put scenes on a note card and I stick them off for Save the Cat, I write this underneath the scene. And it stands for plot development, character development, a joke or a really cool dialogue I want to include in the scene, and spectacle.
We'll get more into this when we edit, because scenes should do more than one thing at a time.
Yeah, a scene should carry more than one load at a time. A scene that just advances the plot is very workmanlike. A scene that just has a character moment is dull to the plot. I've written entire scenes just to have jokes in them before, or a really cool piece of dialogue, but the way you make it worth it is you combine them. So let's consider this example. Say you're writing a story set in like a Star Trek type of universe where they have ships and space travel and stuff. If the plot development is the ship is trying to decide whether to attack or hide, right? That's the big thing. Do we attack the main villain at the end or do we hide? That's an okay scene. Okay. What if at the same time the main character development in that scene is the second officer, the XO, stands up to the captain for the first time?
Mon capitaine, we cannot.
Yeah. It's the first time the XO has ever done that in the book. You know, it's a big turning point where he finally says no to the captain. You can combine those two, and now the scene's a little cooler. Let's say you have a great joke or great dialogue you want to put in there, like, damn the shields, ramming speed. Maybe that's a callback to a great joke or something, a really cool bit of dialogue. And now you can include that. But the last thing, and how it ties into this video, is spectacle. I use spectacle for any kind of big fight scene I'm having, any kind of big action scene, or any kind of special effects stuff going on. And so let's say all this is happening, what kind of spectacle can you add to this?
A holographic display of everybody's position.
Ooh, maybe. You could have a holographic display, but I was thinking, if this was a Star Trek episode, what would they do? They'd have this whole scene happen while the captain and Riker are sitting at that station and they're shaking back and forth because things are getting hit, the shields are getting hit. You could have it during a fight, but that's kind of boring. What if you had this happen while they're falling into like a time warp or a black hole and there's like a 5-dimensional time stoppage going around them? So they're having this argument while there's future versions or past versions of themselves jumping into the argument, ghosting in and out of time. They're going through the ship walls, right? All sorts of cool stuff that they don't have the budget for in a TV show, you could have happen in your book. So I say you could have like a 5-dimensional time loop going on.
Where time becomes a loop.
Yeah, right? And now that makes this scene really awesome. That's the lava bridge for the scene. Don't just make it take place in the captain's ready room. Make it take place somewhere really cool.
Where time becomes a loop.
Yeah. I feel like you're saying that a lot. The point here is you can describe almost anything you want in a book, and you've got the special effects budget to describe characters, locations, scenes, fight scenes, weapons, costumes.
Yeah, think about anything you've ever wanted a movie to do, but they didn't have the special effects budget to do. Do it in your book. Zhuzh it up a bit.
A person who does this really well is Alistair Reynolds. His descriptions of things are very awe-inspiring because he used to be an astrophysicist. So when he describes the infinite, the vastness of space, you feel the vastness of space.
And you feel like you're a tiny speck that doesn't matter and will be destroyed or crushed by something else very quickly.
Yeah. Alistair Reynolds does this very well. This is why the book Starship Troopers has a much higher special effects budget than the movie Starship Troopers. Because things are cooler in the book because they can have those armored suits, which they couldn't afford in the movie. While you're going through the fun and games section, where you all should be right now, think about using your special effects budget for some of those set pieces that you have in the fun and games section. How's it going on Catcalled?
22,000 words, getting to the first fight scene.
You did about 1,000 words today, didn't you?
700 and something, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you're trying through.
Getting there.
Oh, we got our second email.
We did an excellent email, I might add.
So Zach asked us about like helping him with his fight scenes in the fun and games. So we gave him some tips. You know, he's gonna maybe send us the fight scene and we're gonna review it. So again, send stuff to hey@getwriting.wang. We'll look at your questions. We can answer stuff.
And we got a really good comment on last week's episode about learning things from our videos that they hadn't seen anywhere else, which makes us want to ask you, is there anything we haven't covered yet that you'd really like to see?
Yeah, we've got episodes coming up on fight scenes, sex scenes, editing,
exposition. We've got a list, guys.
Yeah, time jumps, flashbacks. We got those coming up. Yeah, so let us know. We only film about 1 week in advance, so we could respond pretty quickly if one of you guys have a really cool idea.
Your homework this week is to think about the next scene or 3 that you're writing and try to figure out how you can make it better. How can you add special effects to it and get a spectacle in your work this week?
So until then,
get writing.
Wang.